The crowd gathered in my front yard looked like they'd just witnessed a miracle. About 20 neighbors stood slack-jawed, phones out, recording the spectacle before them. Spanning the water-filled trench, now separating my driveway from the street, was a genuine, fully functional drawbridge. The wooden planks gleamed under a fresh coat of sealant as the mechanism slowly lowered into place, letting out a smooth, satisfying hum. Across the trench, the other side of what I was now calling my moat, stood Karen Pettin, president of the Maple Grove HOA, looking absolutely horrified. I gave her a cheerful little wave, savoring the moment that had taken weeks to engineer. This was the glorious culmination of the most absurd neighborhood dispute I'd ever experienced. And believe me, in an HOA-run neighborhood with Karen in charge, that's saying something. It all started 6 weeks ago. Over a fence, I'd replaced my old rotting wooden fence, kept it exactly 6 feet tall, just as required by HOA rules. But Karen saw the new posts going in and decided they looked too modern for our classic neighborhood aesthetic. I politely showed her the HOA handbook, which clearly listed my chosen design as compliant. Her eyes narrowed. She muttered something about people who think they're above the rules. That should have been my first red flag. Karen Pettin didn't like being proven wrong. A retired middle school vice principal turned HOA dictator. Karen ruled our cul-de-sac like a tiny tyrant. Every morning she'd ride around in her golf cart, ruler in hand, checking grass height and snapping photos of every minor infraction. She once fined the Johnsons $75 because their garbage cans were visible from the street for 30 extra minutes. 1 week after the fence saga, I received a letter on HOA letterhead that looked like it came from the Supreme Court. It claimed my driveway encroached on common area land by about 18 inches on the east side. This was news to me. I'd lived here 5 years and had all the proper surveys from when I bought the house. But Karen had dug up some obscure 1972 easement she interpreted as giving the HOA authority over a strip of land my driveway had crossed for decades. I tried to resolve it civilly. We met in the HOA office, which was really a converted bedroom in her house packed with filing cabinets. She sat behind a desk that looked like it belonged in an interrogation room. I handed her my property survey. She barely looked at it. Then she slid a highlighted copy of the HOA bylaws across the desk like it was a legal verdict. Section 12. Subsection C. Paragraph 4. She said smugly, any encroachment on common areas must be remedied within 30 days, or we take corrective action. She leaned back, fingers steepled like a cartoon villain. Your driveway's been in violation for years. Previous boards may have ignored it, but I don't. I tried reasoning with her. Moving 18 inches of driveway would cost thousands and made no practical difference. The common area she referenced was just the grass between my driveway and the neighbor's fence. But she gave me 30 days to fix it, or else. I left that meeting thinking, no one's actually going to tear up 18 inches of driveway. I sent the formal dispute, citing the statute of limitations, and even got my lawyer friend Ben to write on official letterhead. 3 weeks later, I came home to destruction. A jagged trench 3 feet wide, 2 feet deep ran straight through my driveway. About 10 feet from the garage, orange cones marked the crater. My car sat uselessly on the other side. I could see the excavator tracks where they'd torn up the asphalt like paper. My hand shook as I called Karen. She picked up on the first ring. "Hi Tom," she said, smugness oozing through the phone. "I see you've discovered our corrective action. You tore up my driveway without notice." I yelled, "That's destruction of property. I'm calling the police." "Feel free," she said coolly. "I have all the documents showing that was HOA land. You can rebuild once you submit compliant plans. Have a pleasant evening." Click. I stared at the trench, rainwater already pooling at the bottom. My neighbor Janet came out, shaking her head. "She's lost it," she said. "Last month she tried to fine me for the wrong shade of beige on my mailbox. The officer who came out was sympathetic but said it was a civil matter. Correct documents technically backed her claim. Criminal charges weren't likely unless I could prove significant damages." That night, I sat at the kitchen table, buried in maps, HOA bylaws, and legal forums. Then I found it Karen's critical mistake. By digging the trench, she'd technically created a water feature on HOA common land. And according to those very bylaws, any resident could submit a proposal to beautify or enhance common areas. That's when the idea hit me. The next day, I filed a complaint about the safety hazard she'd created. Then I submitted a detailed beautification plan for the new water feature adjacent to my property. It was professional, within all guidelines, and completely by the book. While waiting for approval, I contacted a landscape architect and a contractor who built drawbridges for theme parks. Both were thrilled to help take on an overzealous HOA president. Karen was livid but trapped. She couldn't object without admitting she created an unsafe mess. The board approved my plan without hesitation. Work began Monday. First, the trench was widened to a clean 6 feet and reinforced. Karen hovered nearby, seething. By Wednesday, stonework lined the trench. A circulation system was installed. That evening, she finally exploded. "What exactly do you think you're doing?" "Improving the water feature you started," I said, showing her the stamped approval. "The neighborhood deserves beauty, right?" Her eyes burned with rage. "This is just a driveway. You're bypassing permit rules." "It's a decorative bridge," I replied calmly. "That it supports vehicles is purely incidental. I have engineering reports. Want to see them?" She stomped off without a word. My lawyer friend Ben made sure everything was bulletproof. The drawbridge was built to code. The water feature followed all noise and safety ordinances. When it was finished, it was a masterpiece. The bridge was made of weather-treated oak, accented with iron railings and LED lights. It lifted silently with a remote, raised it blocked all access. Lowered, it supported 10,000 pounds. The moat sparkled with underwater lighting and a small waterfall feature. I even added water plants and was considering koi. The reaction was instant. Kids called it the Castle Bridge. Neighbors praised its design. Even the local news did a story. Suburban Drawbridge settles HOA dispute in style. Karen's meltdown at the next HOA meeting was legendary. She stood shaking with rage, demanding the bridge's removal. "It's a mockery of HOA authority," she shouted, waving papers. Board member Richard laughed. "I reviewed the engineering plans myself. That thing's safer than most roads." Another member chimed in. "My grandkids ask to visit the Castle House every day now. I move we commend Tom." The vote for 2-1 against Karen. Only she voted for removal, but it wasn't over. Next on the agenda, multiple complaints about Karen's unauthorized trench and lack of notice. Then the board voted unanimously Karen would personally pay an $8,000 fine for unauthorized excavation and destruction of private property. Her face drained of color. Her petty reign was collapsing. "This is a conspiracy," she shrieked. "I'll sue all of you." No one flinched. The board censured her for abuse of power and scheduled a special election for a new president. As the gavel struck, Karen stood, frozen, her little kingdom in ruins. The cameras caught everything. Her downfall would live on in HOA legend. She stormed out, muttering about revenge. But we all knew it was over. The last thing I heard was her tires squealing into the night.